There is a specific feeling you get the first time you visit Japan, and it hits you within about 20 minutes of landing. Not at the famous temples, not at the neon-lit intersections of Shibuya. It hits you somewhere completely ordinary. A train station, a convenience store, a crosswalk. And the feeling is this: why doesn't everywhere feel like this? Why is the floor this clean? Why is this process this smooth? Why did no one else think to do it this way? That feeling doesn't go away. Because once you start looking, Japan's approach to daily life isn't a mystery. It's a series of deliberate, deeply considered decisions. About time, about people, about the small indignities we accept every single day without realizing we don't have to. These are 14 of those ideas. And yes, some of them will change how you look at your own home before this video is done. Let's get into it. The Japanese convenience store, known as a konbini, sounds like a simple concept until you actually use one. You walk in at 2 in the morning and it's immaculate. Bright, organized, staffed by someone who will heat your meal, print your documents, pay your utility bills, take your parcel returns, and sell you a hot bowl of oden that somehow tastes like it was made by someone's grandmother. The average konbini in Japan stocks around 3,000 products, rotates seasonal items constantly, and is never more than a few hundred meters from wherever you are in an urban area. But the design philosophy behind it goes deeper than product selection. Every element of the store layout is studied obsessively: eye-level placement, basket positioning, the exact angle of the refrigerated shelves. Family Mart, Lawson, and 7-Eleven Japan collectively operate over 50,000 locations nationwide. They function less like shops and more like infrastructure. Meanwhile, a convenience store, in most other countries, is where dreams go to die under fluorescent lighting. Japan looked at the concept and simply refused to leave it half-finished. Every morning, millions of people stand on train platforms around the world doing absolutely nothing useful, just waiting, slightly anxious, unsure exactly where the doors will stop, shuffling awkwardly as the train pulls in. In Japan, that particular chaos doesn't exist. Platform markings, painted directly onto the floor, tell you precisely where to stand based on which car you're boarding. Passengers queue in orderly lines. When the train arrives, the doors open exactly where they were predicted to. People disembark through the middle. Passengers board from the sides. The whole operation takes under 60 seconds. This isn't enforced by announcements or security staff. It's taught young, absorbed culturally, and maintained because it works so obviously well that deviating from it would feel strange. The Tokyo metro system moves over 8 million people a day and maintains a punctuality record so precise that delays of more than 60 seconds trigger a formal apology from the railway company. 60 seconds. Think about that the next time your commute is 40 minutes late with no explanation. Think about the last time you were in a space where the noise level was genuinely, considerately low, not silent, just calibrated. Japan has a cultural concept called miwaku, which roughly translates to causing inconvenience or disturbance to others. It shapes everything. How people talk on phones in public, they don't. How music is played in shops, quietly, if at all. How conversations happen on trains, in hushed tones. But this ethos goes beyond culture into actual physical design. Sound-absorbing panels in public spaces, acoustic engineering in apartment walls, and strict construction noise ordinances mean that Japanese urban environments operate at a consistently lower stress frequency than comparable cities elsewhere. Researchers studying urban noise levels have found that Tokyo, despite being one of the most densely populated cities on Earth, consistently registers lower average decibel levels in residential neighborhoods than cities a fraction of its size in other countries. Noise isn't just uncomfortable. Chronic exposure raises blood pressure, disrupts sleep, and shortens lifespans. Japan essentially decided that silence is a design feature. There's a reason Japanese homes feel lighter than they should. Not physically. The architecture itself is often quite minimal. But experientially. A lot of that comes down to storage philosophy. The concept of negative space, is built into Japanese design at every level. The idea isn't to fill available space with things, but to let the absence of things serve a purpose. Practically, this manifests in clever, often invisible storage solutions. Staircases with built-in drawers, floors that lift to reveal underbed compartments, sliding walls that reconfigure a room entirely, furniture that converts from a dining table to a workspace to a guest bed without the visual chaos that usually implies. The Mujide Sign philosophy, exported worldwide, is just a commercial version of a sensibility the Japanese have embedded in domestic architecture for centuries. Homes in Japan average significantly less square footage than in the US or Australia. Yet studies on life satisfaction consistently show Japanese respondents reporting less stress related to their living environments. You don't need more space. You need better thinking about the space you have. You've handed over cash at a register and watched an employee fumble for change, miscounting twice, holding up the line, both of you slightly mortified. Japan solved this in the most mechanical, gracious way possible. Many Japanese registers, in stores, restaurants, even taxis, use automated cash handling machines built directly into the checkout counter. You place your money into a tray or slot. The machine counts it precisely, calculates the change, and dispenses the exact amount back to you. The cashier never handles your money at all. This removes human error, speeds up transactions significantly, and, perhaps most importantly in a culture where interpersonal friction is taken seriously, eliminates the awkward, slightly stressful dance of the cash exchange. The machines are manufactured primarily by Glory Limited and Glory's global competitors, and Japan has had them deployed at scale for decades. Other countries are still watching cashiers count out 4 coins and a crumpled bill by hand. It's not that the technology didn't exist elsewhere. It's that Japan decided the problem was worth solving. Most countries pour billions into road maintenance and still wake up every spring to potholes that eat tires and buckle bikes and send elderly pedestrians off balance. Japan addressed this from a different direction entirely, by rethinking the road surface itself. Permeable asphalt, used extensively across Japanese road networks, allows rainwater to drain directly through the road surface rather than pooling, running off, or overwhelming drainage systems. This single material shift reduces flooding risk, cuts road spray that obscures visibility during rain, and dramatically reduces the ice formation that destroys pavement through freeze-thaw cycles. Japan also deploys a snow-melting road system in regions like Niigata and Hokkaido. Heated pipes embedded beneath road surfaces circulate warm water fed by geothermal or waste heat sources, keeping critical routes clear without a single grain of road salt. Salt, if you don't know this, corrodes metal, poisons soil, and kills vegetation along roadsides for years. Japan looked at winter road maintenance and said, no plows, no salt, no black ice, no problem. The infrastructure cost is higher up front. The long-term damage cost is a fraction. Nobody talks about how genuinely exhausting it is to navigate a hospital. The waiting, the forms, the unclear signage, the sense that you're slightly lost and slightly worried and slightly embarrassed about both. Japan redesigned the patient experience from the waiting room up. Numbered ticketing systems eliminate line ambiguity. Wayfinding signage in major hospitals uses color-coded pathways, grams, and multiple languages so thoroughly that foreign visitors report being able to navigate without assistance. Automated check-in kiosks, linked to the national My Number identity card system, allow patients to register, update information, and indicate appointment details in under 2 minutes. The process of receiving a prescription was digitized to eliminate the redundant steps of collecting a paper script, walking to a pharmacy, waiting again, and re-explaining your situation. Japan's universal health insurance system, which has covered virtually every citizen since 1961, didn't just make healthcare affordable. It forced a systems-level rethinking of how that care was delivered. When everyone is using the system has to actually work. If you've been nodding along and finding any of this genuinely useful, this would be a great moment to hit like, because it tells YouTube this video is worth showing to more people. And subscribe if you want more of this, because honestly, we're only halfway through and the next few are the ones that surprised me most when I first came across them. The humble toilet has been disrespected for centuries. Most of the world treats it as a purely functional object. Porcelain, handle, done. Japan looked at a device that humans use multiple times every single day and asked, how can this actually be good? The Japanese washlet, pioneered commercially by Toto in the 1980s, is now in over 80% of Japanese homes. It features heated seats, rear and front cleansing with adjustable water pressure and temperature, warm air drying, automatic lid opening and closing, odor neutralization, and in premium models, a nightlight function for those 3 a.m. trips. The environmental math is also interesting. A washlet user consumes roughly 75% less toilet paper than a non-washlet user. Globally, toilet paper production uses 37 billion rolls annually, requiring the felling of millions of trees and massive water consumption. Japan wasn't being precious about bathroom etiquette. They were just building something that worked better in every measurable way. The only real question is why the rest of the world hasn't caught up yet. Noise pollution is invisible damage, and Japan's response to the specific problem of urban construction noise is one of the most underappreciated examples of considered engineering in the world. When buildings are demolished in Japanese cities, crews don't just swing a wrecking ball and call it a day. The standard method involves constructing a full exterior scaffold and noise suppression casing around the entire building first, wrapping the demolition site in panels that dramatically reduce sound and dust transmission to the surrounding area. In some cases, buildings are deconstructed floor by floor from the top down, a technique pioneered by Kojima Corporation called the Daruma Otoshi method, in which each floor is systematically removed using hydraulic jacks while the floors above remain temporarily supported. The building essentially eats itself from the inside, descending slowly, almost silently. Neighbors at times don't realize demolition is even happening until the building is mostly gone. Meanwhile, the rest of the world accepts months of jackhammer noise and choking dust clouds as just the cost of progress. Japan decided that cost was optional. The Japanese don't just wrap things, they treat packaging as a final act of care. The practice of tsutsumi, the art of wrapping, turns the act of presenting something to another person into a considered, layered experience. But beyond the cultural aesthetic, Japanese packaging design is also a masterclass in functional engineering. Food packaging in Japan routinely uses resealable architecture that actually works. Tabs that open cleanly without tearing the entire bag, portion dividers built into the packaging itself, and materials selected to maintain freshness, rather than simply contain the product. The individually wrapped segments inside a larger package, common in Japanese snacks, sweets, and even cheese, aren't excessive waste. They're a humidity and freshness management system that extends product shelf life without refrigeration. Japan has one of the lowest food waste rates among developed nations. That's not a coincidence. When packaging is treated as part of the food system, rather than just a container, it changes how long food stays edible, how much gets thrown away, and how people interact with what they buy. If you've ever had to migrate to a new phone and rebuild your entire digital life from scratch, you understand a particular kind of low-level modern misery. Japan addressed a version of this problem with something far more fundamental: IC card technology. The Suica card, issued by East Japan Railway Company and launched in 2001, is a single rechargeable smart card that works as a train pass, bus pass, store payment card, vending machine payment, and electronic key across hundreds of participating services throughout Japan. You tap in, tap out, tap to pay. The same card, everywhere, every time. No app required. No phone needed. No battery anxiety. The physical card works if your phone is dead. It works if you're elderly and don't want a smartphone. It works seamlessly enough that most Tokyo residents use it without a second thought, which is exactly the point. Integration at this level requires coordination across rail operators, retailers, and city governments. A level of systems thinking that most countries haven't managed with technology twice as recent. Japan built it in 2001. In most countries, construction work is synonymous with months of chaos, dust, orange cones, and vague signage suggesting that someone, somewhere, has a plan. Japanese construction sites operate under a different philosophy entirely. Safety and courtesy are considered non-negotiable obligations to the surrounding community, not optional add-ons. Automated flagging devices replace human traffic controllers in lower-risk zones. Detailed project timelines are posted publicly at the construction entrance, noise ordinances are observed with precision, and, this is the part that genuinely surprises PEs, Opel. Construction workers in Japan bow to pedestrians passing the site. Not performatively, not as theater, as a genuine acknowledgement that their work is disrupting someone else's day, and that disruption deserves acknowledgement. The broader principle is called omoyari, consideration for others, and it permeates every level of Japanese professional culture. It turns out that when you treat your impact on others as a responsibility rather than an inconvenience, the whole process runs differently. Japanese vending machines are described as quirky in most travel content, as if they're a novelty to photograph and then forget. But the $45 billion in annual revenue those machines generate says something different. Japan has one vending machine for every 23 people, the highest density of any country on Earth. And the product range has expanded so far beyond beverages that vending machine barely covers it anymore. You can buy fresh eggs, hot ramen, umbrellas, dress shirts, surgical masks, sake, live stag beetles, and in at least one documented case, a lettuce grown hydroponically in the machine itself. But the innovation beneath the novelty is the operational intelligence. Modern Japanese vending machines use real-time sales data transmitted to central servers, triggering automatic restocking routes based on purchase patterns rather than fixed schedules. In emergencies and natural disasters, a significant portion of Japan's vending machines are programmed to dispense products for free, pre-authorized by operators as part of national disaster preparedness protocols. They're not quirky, they're infrastructure with better branding. There is a concept in Japan called Kaizen. It translates as continuous improvement. And while the word is now used in business schools and productivity seminars everywhere, its origins are deeply practical and deeply Japanese. It isn't a philosophy of grand transformation or dramatic overhaul. It's the quiet belief that every system, every process, every product, every moment of daily friction can be made fractionally better, and that the accumulation of those fractions, over time, produces something radically different from where you started. You see Kaizen in the ticket machines that were updated 47 times before becoming intuitive, in the bento box lid designed across 12 iterations before the seal was perfect, in the crosswalk signal that plays a different melody in each direction so visually impaired pedestrians can orient themselves without asking for help. Kaizen isn't about one big leap. It's about the refusal to accept that the way something currently is the best it can ever be. And when you absorb that idea, really absorb it, you stop looking at your own daily life the same way. The commute that wastes 20 minutes. The kitchen layout that has never quite worked. The Tuesday morning habit that makes the whole day worse. Japan didn't get here because of genius. Japan got here because of the sustained, patient belief that things can be better, and the willingness to do the amorous work of making them so. That's what makes Japan's approach feel different from mere efficiency or aesthetics. It isn't a style. It isn't a brand. It's a commitment. To the person standing on the train platform, to the pedestrian walking past the construction site, to the hospital patient who is already afraid and doesn't need to also feel lost, to the person eating a snack at midnight who didn't ask for a meditation on packaging philosophy but is getting a fresher product because someone thought hard about humidity. These ideas aren't small, they compound. And once you start seeing the friction in your own environment the way Japan sees it, as a problem worth solving rather than a condition to endure, they start changing how you live. If this video delivered on that promise, hit like. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who think about the world this way. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And if you want to go deeper, the next video on Japanese infrastructure is already waiting for you.